Slim Chickens is the proud kitchen sponsor for New Mexico Living.
Empowering others to embrace the art of storytelling as a tool for both personal and professional transformation. In a world that's obsessed with data, Doug Thompson is reminding us that it's the stories behind that data that truly matter. Doug is a man with many titles. He's a 3-time international best-selling co-author, TEDx and keynote speaker, and chief education architect, to name a few. And with humor, heart, and a knack for making the complex simple, I spoke with Doug about how storytelling can transform not just businesses, but lives. Well, guys, we are joined today by Doug Thompson. He's a 3-time international best-selling co-author, TEDx and keynote speaker, as well as a chief education architect. Doug has many, many titles, to say the least. Doug, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Logan.
What we're talking about today is the science of storytelling, why stories stick, and how we can use them to influence others. So, Doug, my first question for you today, let's talk about the psychology of a great story.
Sure. And you know, stories come in all flavors, sizes, lengths. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, a story is going to light up different pieces of your brain. I started off my TED Talk, I gave a number. Later, I told a couple stories. Then right after that, I asked, okay, anybody remember the number? They didn't. Numbers really just sort of like fly out. It's in one ear, out the other.
Okay.
Because they don't excite us. They're facts and figures. They don't sell. I've been in technical sales my entire career. And I found a long time ago that if I tell a story of how this is going to solve a problem, doing different things, it lights up different pieces of the brain. Lisa Cron wrote a book about wired for story, and our brains are wired for that. If you go back to the caveman days, where you had cave paintings, they told a story to get a message across. So the more areas of your brain you can get involved in a story, the more memorable it's going to be. And that's sort of what the steps that I teach are how to sort of light up those areas of the brain and become memorable. Much like you in journalism, you probably learned that as well, right?
Absolutely.
What makes a compelling story?
Absolutely. Well, let's dive into those stories. Let's talk about the role of empathy when it comes to storytelling.
Yeah. Empathy is next to starting, and it sort of falls into the very first step of telling a great story, is starting where your audience lives. Empathy plays a big piece of that. What are the problems that they're facing, right? What are the challenges that they are? What do they like to do, right? And like your Monica, I know I read she's a golfer. She likes to golf, and I understand you scored a 26 on some test way back in the day.
That's true, I did.
So how can I make this emotional attachment and empathy and stuff? I understand where you're coming from. Like in sales, I need to understand the challenges and stuff my customers have, so then I can relate to that. So I'm starting my story there, showing I empathize with the challenges you may face. I'm knowledgeable about them, and it builds trust. It builds up something. If I show you empathy, you're more willing to trust me to take you along on this journey of the story. And that's really the basis of this.
Absolutely, 100%. I know that if someone shows some empathy to me, like getting a 26 on a test out of 100, I'm going to feel a little better, more confident in that person.
Well, I thought it was 30. I thought you did pretty good with that one.
You know, I said 26. Maybe it was 30. It was an F. Let's just say that. Yeah. Doug, let's talk about what the key elements of a persuasive story are. Talk to me about those key elements.
Sure. You probably heard about the story arc that goes along. So the key elements, again, starting the story where your audience lives. The listener needs to be the hero. That's where you want to pull the audience in. I'm not talking about movies and these other things. I mean, they still follow the very same structure. But if I'm talking to somebody trying to make a sale or sell myself or a concept, I need to say, look, you're going to be the hero. My product is not the hero. I'm going to make you the hero of your story. You're going to solve your problems. Life's going to be better down the road. But also in telling the story, they have to go through the struggle themselves. Because Stephen Pressfield wrote something. He wrote a book about nobody wants to read your stuff. I'll just do the polite way of doing it. But he talks about the more dire the stress and the more dire, the more humans. We like a nice car wreck to go see. And these things, we're drawn to that.
Right.
How does a hero overcome that? Right. So they got to take them on a journey. When I'm talking to a customer about a product or something, I pull in somebody that they may know. Hey, I had a customer had a very similar problem like that. Here's what they were. Here's the state of their life. And again, it goes back to that empathy and understanding where they're at, so they can see themselves as the hero in the story.
Absolutely.
And then again, we sort of walk through, and they went through some struggles, but at the end of the day, now they work 2 hours a week, and life's great, and all these other things. Right. So the hero has to resolve the issues themselves to be satisfying and all that. And again, if I'm taking you along for the ride, I've started where you are, you're coming along with me, you're buying in, you're listening, and this will be memorable. This will, if you see 100 people coming in, I'm going to be the one that sticks because I lit up so many different areas of your brain.
Absolutely. This is all great tips for people to take when you're really wanting to engage with a speech, a presentation. And speaking of speeches, oftentimes when we have maybe a business presentation, there's data that you want to maybe
Okay.
showcase. That can become quite dry for a lot of people, Doug. Talk to
Yeah.
me about what we can do to transform maybe dry stats
Mhm.
into some compelling stories.
They call it death by PowerPoint for a reason, as soon as they can get on. Again, data itself tells a story, and it's what are you trying to say? Are we off the charts making profit and stuff? Okay, that's going to lighten me. Again, then depending on who's listening to this, if it's a CFO, I want to know we're making profits. I want to know where these all this. So these big numbers here. Here's where we were yesterday. Here's where we are today, and here's where we're going. Again, sort of telling the story. Here's where we're at with that.
Right.
The numbers themselves really don't make anything because you can make numbers tell you anything that you want. But it's at the end of the day, how can I attach this to something, a problem that I need to solve, a metric that I care about, something like that, that then, okay, I can get buy-in and understand it. I really don't care about all the other things, pretty charts and, that's tell me the story about it. Let the data talk for itself and tell me what it's going to solve. What is it telling me? Do we need to, are we about to crash and burn? Do we what's going on here, right? So what do we need to do? Because then that will help me make the changes I may need to make.
Yeah.
It's, if data's bad, okay, what do we need to do to improve it? Or if it's good, how do we do more of that to make it even better?
Absolutely. Influencing others, guys, a lot of it really comes down to great storytelling. Doug, you're clearly an amazing storyteller. Like we said, three-time international best-selling co-author, a TEDx and a keynote speaker, and you're also a chief education architect. You're doing so much stuff, so much great stuff, Doug. If people want to go online, find out more about you, maybe talk to you, get some more advice like you gave us today, where can we go online for that?
I'm most active on LinkedIn, but my social handle is the Doug Thompson, just about anywhere. TheDougThompson.com is my website. Actually, for all the viewers today, if you go up there and sign up, I've got a free giveaway I'll be giving out a little bit later. I'm about to launch another storytelling project, and I'll give you a little step into going to that. But the Doug Thompson ever LinkedIn is where I'm most active with that. I'm still trying to figure out TikTok and Instagram. Those stories I haven't quite mastered yet, but the other ones I've done a lot better with.
Well, Doug, you're doing amazing stuff. This was a lot of great information today. Guys, the science of storytelling. If you're nervous, you don't know how you're going to influence these people, maybe just get that storytelling skill intact. Could take you a long, long way. Doug Thompson, thank you so much for joining us today. A lot of great information there.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Guys, if you want to see that story with Doug again, head over to krqe.com, click on the Living tab.